So our next bucket is post-consumer strategies. So in the previous video, I was looking at things before the waste hit the consumer. Now we're looking at some things that the consumer can do once they have it to reduce or divert some of that waste. So harkening back to the idea of bans, on one hand, you can ban a product from even being there, but once we have it in the consumer's hand, we can ban them from putting it in the landfill, or conversely, we can make a law that it's mandatory that a way to recycle it is provided. It's harder to make it mandatory to actually recycle it, but easier to make it mandatory to have a way to recycle it. So in the figure here, there's just some stats for in USA, what materials have mandatory recycling programs and what materials have bans from landfill. So it's kind of the carrot and the stick approach. You can say you have to make a way to divert this, or you can't put this in the landfill. They kind of both push towards the same thing. So these are some policy instruments to get stuff out of the landfill and into the diversion streams. Again, this is more focused on diversion than reduction in the first place, but diversion is better than not diversion. Second tool that is kind of where the bans and the mandatory programs are kind of a little bit of a harder approach. Bottle bills or container deposit programs, they have a little bit of a reward built in them. So in the picture, this is a reverse vending machine. And the way it works is you put an empty bottle in it and you get some money out rather than putting money in and getting a full bottle out. So this is just one arrangement. If you've ever returned container deposits, like at the beer store in Ontario, you just walk in, they count them, and they give you your deposit back. Similar system, but there's different ways to implement it. And this is nice because it really internalizes the cost to the consumer. They pay the deposit and they don't get it back until they put their container back where it should be. And these are pretty common. Ontario doesn't have one, unfortunately, but if you look at a lot of bottles, if you look right on the back, it'll have all the amounts for deposits, and it'll be like Quebec and New York, a bunch of places that are Ontario. But that's why that writing is on the back of bottles, to tell the systems that have bottle bills how to treat that container. So maybe we'll get one in Ontario one day, but they work really well in the other jurisdictions that do have them. So another one, this one is actually important for reduction rather than diversion, is making it more accessible to actually repair things. So a lot of things we throw out because it's just easier to throw out, it's cheaper. In Ontario, just because labor is so expensive relative to the labor that produced our products. Our new products are really cheap, and repairing things is really, really expensive. So it's almost always incentivized to throw something out and buy a new one, which doesn't really make sense from a materials perspective. So there are some policy tools we can use to incentivize making these repairs happen. So one thing they're doing, for example, in the slide here is in Sweden, they've removed tax for repair services. So if you have like a 15% tax, usually it's kind of automatically 15% off repairs. That's one way to make repairs more accessible. There's other things like repair cafes where you can go in and get help fixing things, or more instruction in schools about sewing and mechanics and things like that. But we really have this throwaway culture, and we don't have a lot of skills to repair things ourselves. So these are things that if we did them, we could keep things out of the landfill. But again, going back to consumerism, society doesn't want that because we rely on our economy always buying more and more and more. So you're always fighting consumerism through all these waste reduction and diversion measures. And the last one we'll talk about here on the post-consumer side, and this is going to transition kind of into collection, which is our next chapter 3 topic, is pay-as-you-throw schemes and collection frequency schemes. So we can build kind of into the way we collect waste signals that tell you that you should divert or reduce. So in my slide here, I've got an example from the region of Waterloo, and you may be familiar with these rules. So on the left of the slide, we've got the rules for the green bin and the blue box. box. So these are our nice source separated streams. Theoretically, we can do something higher value up the waste hierarchy with these, and these are weekly collection and unlimited bins. So it's really easy, really frequent. They're like, yeah, give us all that stuff. Next over, we've got our garbage. Our garbage is every 2 weeks, so it's going to be sitting around and being smelly for an extra week. And there's a limit of 4 bags before you have to start paying for them. So 4 seems like a lot for a lot of people, but at least there's some limit to it. So just the way this system is set up, it encourages you to think twice about putting something in that black bag and see if you can put it in that diverted stream. Maybe if you find yourself producing a lot of garbage, you're filling your 4 bags, you might say, hey, what can I do differently? Maybe I should stop only drinking bottled water. I'm going to switch to something else where I'm producing less waste or something like that. And there's different ways that we can build these signals into the collection system. Other ways are actually charging people exactly for how much waste they throw out. So in garbage cans, they can embed an RFID chip, and when the truck comes along to pick up the bin, it'll read the chip and count it, and you only get charged for that one. So it incentivizes you to put out less waste. Or if you want to be a little less low tech, there's subscriptions that some municipalities use for different sizes of bins. So if you have like the really big 200-liter bin, you pay more than if you have a really small bin. So again, it's putting a price on how much waste is getting collected, and it sends a signal back to do more diversion or waste reduction to avoid paying that extra cost as the consumer. So in our next chapter, we're really going to dive into how that collection system works. And it's interesting because it's something we have a lot of connection to. It's the part we see. So we'll get into that shortly. Talk soon.